All right, Arsenal may have been dealt another injury blow, of course, as midfielder Martin Zubimendi trained separately from the rest of the first team. The Spaniard was withdrawn before the hour mark in Arsenal's last-minute win over bottom of the league Wolves. Those suggestions is that he was doing some work in the gym, which Dean doesn't like doing. Arsenal will be boosted by the return of Ricardo Calafiori, though, after serving a suspension for the game against Wolves. They had been stretched thin, though, at the back, with multiple defensive players unavailable for the last two games. The sight of William Saliba returning to start against Wolves will have been a welcome one, no doubt. There is no Ben White, though, or Gabriel, and Kai Havertz and Christian Mosquera are still out. Despite that, injuries aren't the only concern for Mikel Arteta's side, are they, young Dave?
Not that young. Thank you. Yes, it could well be a season-defining Christmas period for Arsenal. 2 points clear of Manchester City, 3 ahead of Aston Villa, but this table could look very different in 4 weeks' time. That's because Arsenal's next 6 fixtures proved tricky. Last season, Mikel Arteta failed to win all of the corresponding fixtures in the last campaign, picking up just 5 points in total. And it all started with a 1-1 draw against Brighton after, well, this controversial red card for Declan Rice. Remember that? The little kick away. That got him a second yellow card. Arsenal reduced to 10 players. Joel Veltman was the Brighton player. He couldn't believe it, neither could the Arsenal fans, but off he went. At the end of December, Arsenal host Aston Villa at the Emirates. They were 2-0 up after 60 minutes, only to be pegged back by Ollie Watkins. Remember, Villa ended Arsenal's 18-match unbeaten run at the start of this month. And Arsenal begin the new year with a trip to the Vitality, where red card controversy again dominated last season too. I mean, we're still arguing about this one. Was this a denial of a goal-scoring opportunity? After a VAR review, it was deemed it was, and William Saliba was sent off. Arsenal lost the game by 2-0. And their first trip to the Emirates in 2026 is a clash against current champions, Liverpool. Arsenal were pegged back twice last season as Mo Salah snatched a draw late in the game. So I guess the question is this a run of games a cause for concern for Arsenal, or is it extra focus and motivation, Dean?
I think it'll be motivation. I can pretty much guarantee that they'll beat that points tally from last season because of the squad depth that they've now got. Yes, the injuries, and I think historically, you know, if you have this many injuries for a long period of time, it will really affect you. But I thought the recruitment was brilliant in the summer. I'd expect them to be better in these matches. And even though we're talking about the injuries, they're still top of the table.
Yes, they are. And they are digging out results at times. Just at the minute, you know, they scraped that win against Wolves. Was that a worry for you, or is that a sign of the champions that they've actually got themselves over the line?
It was more a worry in terms of, you know, the lack of goals against a Wolves side that have really struggled. Obviously, two own goals getting them through. When you've not got that many injuries in forward areas at the moment, it's the defence that's been struggling with those injuries. Jesus coming back in, which is a real bonus. But does it really matter, I suppose, how you win the games? If you're going for the title, it really doesn't.
You worried about Gyökeres there, because obviously he came off for Jesus. Jesus came on for a little cameo and had plenty of touches, and Gyökeres only had, I think, 15 touches in that game. Does that worry you?
No, because Haaland hardly touches the ball.
No,
it's just he's the most patient striker I think I've ever seen in my whole life. And with his first attempt on goal against Crystal Palace, he scores, and it looks totally different. Now, he is obviously an exception. He's a generational talent, is Erling Haaland. But Gyökeres, like many other number 9s, you try and look around for number 9s now that are scoring lots and lots of goals. There aren't many. That role has changed a lot. You now have to, and Gyökeres will do this, out of possession, lots of runs, trying to stretch the defence. Well, if you're doing that, it's harder to be in the box, in the 6-yard box, when it matters. You're making runs for the wingers to score goals, for your number 10 to get the ball and score goals. That role as a number 9 has changed dramatically from certainly when I played. Probably even in the last 10 years, it's changed so much that the demands on you to do lots of other things other than scoring out of possession and not being involved when teams are sat deep, I think is very difficult. I think he will come good, and he's got a great attitude to being that selfless, not selfish, selfless centre forward.
Okay. I was just thinking, as a striker, you kind of need to be a bit.
You want to be selfish, but you need the ball.
I hear you. Look, it is only 1 clean sheet in 6. I mean, is that simply down to the loss of Gabriel, do you think, or is there something else going on?
No, I think taking Gabriel and Saliba out of the team is gonna hurt you. And yes, they have got depth in that position, but Mosquera had come in and done well, and he's then got injured, and Capier's still trying to find his feet in a new league, in a new country, so might take a bit of time as well. It's about getting through this period with the least amount of damage possible till you get those players back.
Yeah, okay. Right, stay with us, because after last night's thriller between Manchester United and Bournemouth, we're going to take a look at some of the classic
Arsenal training as the Premier League leaders prepare to face Everton in the Saturday night football. Let's go live to Gary Cotter, who's watching that session for us. Good morning, Gary. Any sign of some of those key players that Mikel Arteta has been missing?
Well, the short answer to that, I'm afraid, Arsenal fans, is no, not yet. It's been a bit like the hokey cokey, hasn't it, when it comes to Arsenal defenders? In, out, move it all about for Mikel Arteta. If I move all about out of the way, you can see that not out there still is Gabriel. Now, there are reports doing the rounds that he might well be targeting a return for 2 weeks today. That's that crucial Aston Villa Premier League game at the Emirates. Also not out there, of course, Ben White. Another injury for Ben White. He's obviously came back after a while out with a bit of a hamstring problem. His knee problem, of course, which devastated his season last season, and picked up another hamstring problem in that game at the weekend against Wolves. And so is out for another bit of treatment. They had a scan on Sunday, we think, and they're waiting for the final conclusion of the club. But the guesstimate at the moment is about another month potentially out for Ben White. But the better news, of course, is that William Saliba, missing for a while, is out there. Did play, of course, against Wolves, and we're seeing him training this time because we didn't see the training ahead of the Wolves game. So, as I say, it's some defenders back in, other defenders back out, as in Ben White, and of course out, as I mentioned, Gabriel and Mosquera. He's out probably until certainly next month. So yeah, Mikel Arteta out there with most of the players. I do have to point out, though, that I can't see Zubimendi among the players who aren't out there. He isn't injured as far as we know, so we would have expected him to be out there. But potentially, because it's their first day back training, and they had a couple of days off after that Wolves victory, that very, very tight Wolves victory, potentially he could be, inside in the gym or doing his own work, because he's played a lot of minutes, hasn't he, Zubimendi? But yeah, he's not out there. But as far as I can see, the rest of them are, of course, with the absentees that I've mentioned, and of course still no Kai Havertz. He's due back as well at some point over the next few weeks. No timescale finally on that. And Mikel Arteta will be pleased to have this almost full week of training. They, of course, are due to play Crystal Palace in the Carabao Cup quarter-final. That would have taken place this week, but can't because Crystal Palace are involved in the Conference League on Thursday. So he's got 3-4 full days on the training pitch just to try and work out exactly why they were a little bit under par in that victory over Wolves, that late victory over Wolves. Not really at the races in terms of their usual form. They got the win, a hard-fought win, a lucky win really, 2 own goals. And I guess under different circumstances in different seasons, last season, the season before, that was 3 points that they may not have picked up, Arsenal. So in a way, he'll be pleased that they did, show the fight right the way through to the end to get that late win. But he did describe the performance as under par. Horrible defensive habits, he said in the post-news conference. Nowhere near the required level. They had no shots on target, by the way, in the first half of that victory over Wolves. So they were hoping to put that better, weren't they, at Everton on Saturday Night Football at 8 o'clock. Listen, they're training quite a long way away, as you can see it. It's starting to rain, so we'll keep it quite generic, the shots of them out there training, as we talk a little bit before we hand back about the, up top. Pretty healthy choices up top, particularly with Kai Havertz due back and Gyökeres is back, Jesus back and fit again. was pretty impressive, wasn't he, when he came on against Wolves. Interestingly, though, still question marks, isn't there, about how Gyökeres is adapting to the Premier League. 15 touches only against Wolves in 81 minutes, and Jesus came on and replaced him and had 9 touches in what was remaining of the game, and was involved, of course, in getting in the way and causing that own goal that finally won the game for Arsenal. There they are, training in the distance as it starts to rain. Those players not out yet. The ones you'd expect not to be out, of course, including, as I say, Gabriel, Mosquera and Kai Havertz, but also Zubimendi doing work elsewhere, we're told.
Gary, thank you.
This is their league form. And again, we touched a little bit on it on Sunday, which is they've been fantastic at home, Jamie. They've had a real strength at home, and they've played a lot of the top clubs at home. But away is where they have really struggled.
Yeah, and they've got a huge game this weekend away. And that's probably why we look at that team. There's a couple of changes. And that feels, it's not a must-win, but it's one that you certainly feel if you could navigate it and get 3 points, get to 23 points, you're starting to look up the table rather than getting drawn into that relegation fight. The one away win was against West Ham, where West Ham were absolutely abysmal on that occasion. And that's what Keith has to change. And maybe a little bit, I felt the weekend they did OK. Like, I like what he's done there. He's had very difficult circumstances to deal with, but maybe at times a little bit more freedom in their play, not so reliant on maybe the throws or the set pieces or the corners. But I think so far to get to 20 points, they're in a really strong position, but they've got to keep it going.